we spoke about was this incredible house on the side of a mountain in Utah.
Yeah.
Tell me, first, you had a beautiful house before you even went for the monster.
Yeah,
that I've stayed in and everything else.
Yeah, you stayed in my first house before that.
But tell me about this. Where did the idea come from about having a mountain of your own and building on this?
So I don't know what it is, but I love being up high. You know, it's one of the reasons why I have a helicopter. I love being up high. I don't know if it's just because it puts me in a different perspective or what, but I love being up high. And so I knew one day I always wanted to build a house on a mountainside, and the only thing I wanted to have it be was a piece of view, a view for everybody that came to oversee whatever it is that wherever I lived. And so I lived in the house that you and I first met in, beautiful house. And I met my wife now, and I took her up one night in a golf cart up all the way to the top of the mountain. And we sat in where my living room now is in the golf cart. And I turned to her and I said, one day we're going to build a house here. Mm-hmm. You know, we weren't married. We weren't, and she was like, what are you talking about?
Stop fronting.
Yeah, we were sitting in my $2 million house down the road. And she's like, I'm like, I want to build a house right here. And I want this to be literally what the view is. Mm-hmm. So, and that was probably the beginning of her thinking, this guy's out of his mind. So I did. I went up, I bought the property up there, and immediately the city was like, no, you can't build up there. And I said, cool, gave him the thumbs up. Thanks for letting me know what you think I can do. And I started, I started building the house without them even like having approval. I started digging out the mountain. I called two of my buddies and I was like, hey, we're just going to start digging out the mountain and like dig into it and push the dirt out. And then we're going to set the house on the dirt that we push out.
Oh,
yeah.
I know this, but I'm still saying, reminiscing back.
So literally I sold my house that I was staying in the meantime. Yeah. And I was like, I don't have anywhere to live, and I'm not going to go buy another house because, listen, I got a little bit of money, but I don't have that much money to go be in 3 different houses, So I got a trailer. Yeah. I parked the trailer at the lot. Yeah. And I lived in my trailer for 10 months.
And that was one of my questions.
Yeah.
Downgrading from a $2 million house into a trailer. With kids and a new relationship.
Yes. So Maddie and I weren't married yet, but we were dating. I have 2 daughters with my previous wife. So my 2 daughters and I lived in a trailer for 10 months, bless their hearts. And they loved it. It really was a fun experience. Yeah. I wish I could say, oh, it was so hard. It wasn't hard, dude. It was a $200,000 trailer. It was a nice, it definitely had its limitations, but we went from the house to the trailer. We were in the trailer, and I built, and I literally did it by myself. Like I hired and fired, and I essentially built the house with myself.
You physically done it yourself though as well?
Yeah, like I was literally on the job site every day. I was subcontractors. I was paying the bills. I was going over the plans. I was doing all that stuff. And I even designed the house. I gave it to an engineer, but I designed the house. So when people come, they're like, well, who designed your house? I'm like, I did it. And the way that it looks, if you haven't seen my house, is it's built into the mountain and everything is overlooking the valley. So nothing is behind the house. So literally the front yard is the yard. Like that's where everything's at. The pool's out there, the pond, everything. But dude, I looked at that the same way I look at every single aspect of my life. And that was, it first starts with a vision. Once you get the vision, then you figure out how you're going to achieve what you want. And that's all it was. And every single person said, you can't do it. You don't have enough money. The city's not going to let you. You just can't do it. And I just kept doing what I thought I needed to do to get it done. Now, the crazy part is that it's a 10,000 square foot house that took a year to build in the middle of COVID when you couldn't get concrete and steel and windows. And like literally, I tell people this to this day, the highest that wood and steel have ever been was in the middle of COVID. And it was right when
you were building your house.
When I was building my house. Yeah. So it was a nightmare. I ran up against everything, but I have learned that no matter how inept I am, no matter how much I struggle, if I just put my head down and just go and go and go and go, I may make a million mistakes, but I'm going to get that shit done.
You were stressed the hell out.
Oh, dude.
That's probably what Yeah, you say it's the most stressed you've been in your life?
Ever,
Yeah.
And here's why. For those that, so Maddie and I, we got engaged. She got pregnant. She had her daughter. I had my 2 daughters. We were living in a trailer. Maddie was living in another house that I was paying for, and then we were building this house. And everything that could go wrong went wrong. I mean, everything. Like I said, dude, like to this day, steel and wood are not even close to the price they were when I bought, because it was in the middle of COVID when no one was working. So concrete, and if you haven't seen the house is all concrete and steel. Like there's not very much else there. So we were literally like, when most people pour a house, they do it in one pour, right? Mm-hmm. No. Every week I was having to be on the phone with concrete companies trying to get concrete up to my house. I mean, dude, I was so stressed out. And the reason I was so stressed out was twofold. I was living in a trailer with my 2 daughters. We were supposed to get married, and the baby was coming. And I thought, holy shit, am I going to have a baby in a trailer?
Oh, man.
So
wrong
yes.
state.
Oh, dude. Yeah, seriously, wrong state. So I was stressed. That was by far the most stressed I had ever been. But that was also when I leveled up the most. Because
what lessons you learned from that?
Oh, dude. Because the truth is if you want to really level up and change your life, you got to get uncomfortable and you got to get in a stressful situation, and then you have to learn from it. Mm-hmm. And that's, I think, I would love to attribute all of my success to one time, but I will say the common denominator has always been be uncomfortable and be stressed, and you're going to grow like crazy.
We were talking about the house, and there was something I was going to say about the house. But, you actually designed that house.
Yeah.
Which, when you told me that, I was like, bro, come on. What's this, GTV?
Well, that's what everybody asks.
His GTV,
like,
right?
Yeah,
his GTV. And you genuinely had all the blueprints. You spec'd it all out. So how did you come up with this concept of, obviously you said about, the no compromises. I'm doing this, come rain or shine, whatever, or mountain or city. I'm doing this. In the worst of times, I'm going to go through this. That is your mentality to the T.
Yeah.
But you're not an engineer.
No.
You are not a blueprint guy.
Yeah.
You maybe understand it. You've learned to. But how did you kind of have this concept and this visual element of creating this beautiful house, which stands out? I mean, from the bottom of the mountain. It's an incredible thing, man. I'm so proud. Every time I see it, I'm like, that's Keaton's house. It's unbelievable.
You know what? This is a really good point to make. I learned really young that I was a visual person, and you always hear people talk about visual boards, right? Like, what's your vision board? And essentially, that's what I did. Is I scoured Instagram, and I looked at everything that I could find that I loved, that I found aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah.
And I thought, holy shit, dude, I could place this exact house on my mountain. And I started to do it. And then it's funny, I started contacting the owners of the houses and asking them who designed it. I started talking to the designers. There's a house, even to this day, it's somewhere in... I think it's somewhere in Russia, and I'll have to show it to you sometime. Okay. But it looks kind of like my house, and I found it, and I was like, I love it. I want to build something just like that on my hillside. So I did. I put up essentially a quote-unquote vision board on my house. I put everything together, painted the picture in my mind, I put it on paper, and then literally I met with a designer, an architect, and engineers and said, how can you make this work? And it's funny, as soon as I gave that to them, I got a call back within 24 hours. He's like, dude, this isn't going to work. And I said,
who said that?
My architect and engineer. They said, this isn't going to work. And I said, well, he was like, this just doesn't make a lot of sense. Can I give you some advice? And I said, no, you can't. I said, make it work. You're not giving me any advice, dude. Just make it work.
What do you think it would have looked like differently?
If I would have let them do it, it would have had 0 windows. Like the way he was like, well, we can't put 15-foot doors that slide open. And I said, well, you can't, but I can.
Yeah, that is the house.
That's exactly what I said. I said, dude, I want everything windows. And he's like, well, if we do windows, you got to have, and they're thinking of codes and they're thinking of all this. Yeah. So I do understand. Yeah. But I said, listen, dude, I get it, but I didn't bring this to you so you could tell me it's not going to work. I brought it to you and said, how do you make it work? Otherwise, I'll find somebody else. So I handed it to him, and then he came back to me with the first layout, and I was like, you know what? We're close here, but that ain't it, man. Yeah. We got to make some changes, So we did, and we went back and forth for a while. And in the meantime, I'm already like building. Like I'm laying out the foundation. I'm doing all kinds of stuff.
Before you signed off on the blueprint?
Yes. Yeah. Because I'm digging where the garage is gonna be. I'm digging where the living room's gonna be. I'm laying out, the map of and finally we get the blueprint. Finally the city, like it took, I don't know how long it took the city to sign off. They didn't want to sign off. And then we start building.
That's incredible. Thank you for watching this segment. Check out the full interview on iTunes, Spotify, or YouTube. Help us by subscribing, leave a like, comment, or a positive review. Click this to see what YouTube recommends, and this to see the full interview. See you on the next one. Out.